Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome, 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 welcome. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. I want to thank you so much for joining me this evening. As you can see, I'm in my colors. I mean, the Garvey colors or the Jamaica colors as well. I want to thank you so much for joining me this evening. And if you can hear me clearly, I want to thank those who are joining me from YouTube. Thank you so much. Those who are joining me on Facebook, those who are joining me on Instagram, and those who are joining me over on TikTok as well. Thank you so much for this discussion. And this is about, is Marcus Garvey still the key to Black progress? Yes, indeed. Give the Creator thanks. Amen. Amen. UNIA London. Awesome. Awesome. I want to tell you something. No, I'm not going to say it as yet. I'm still actually trying to locate my guest. I'm still trying to locate my guest anyhow still. But nevertheless, still, let's progress and let the show go on, because Marcus Garvey lives, lives in the spirit, in the sense, and the teachings as well. And the show must go on. So without a doubt, ladies and gentlemen, I want to play something though. I want to play something before I start. And I think this is very powerful. I'm going to play clips of it at different times. But listen, ready?
Did not suffer and die to give me an education to slight, oppress, or discourage my people. Because whatsoever education I acquired out of their sacrifice of over 300 years, I shall use for the salvation of the 400 million black people of the world. And the day when I forsake my people, may God Almighty say there shall be no more life for you. I unequivocally rejected the racist assumption of much white American Christianity, namely that God had created the black man inferior and that he had intended Negroes to be a servant class, hewers of wood and drawers of water. Well, I predicated my view of man on the doctrine of Imago Dei. All men, regardless of color, are created in the image of God. Now, from this premise followed the equality of all men and the brotherhood of all men. The biblical injunction of Acts 17:26 reminds us that he created of one blood all nations of men that dwell on the face of the earth. I was most interested in brotherhood within his own race, because if Negroes are created in God's image and Negroes are black, then God must, in some sense, be black.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, and I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight. Thank you for joining me. And this evening, we're in Black History Month, as we all know. This is Black History Month. And one of the things that I've been saying a lot is that this is a powerful and necessary conversation as we ask, is Marcus Garvey's message still the key to Black progress in the UK? Right? And as we honor Black History Month, it's not enough to just look back at the names and faces that shape our history. We must also examine how their visions live on today. Garvey didn't just give us inspiration. He gave us a strategy for liberation through unity, economic power, and self-determination. Join me tonight, and I'm going to say join me tonight. And I hope, because I've been having some issues trying to get hold of my guests, but join me tonight, potentially is Mr. Stephen Golden, President of Universal Negro Improvement Association in Jamaica, UNIA. And I saw someone from UNIA. If you can contact Mr. Brother Malek, President of UK chapter of UNIA, respected committee leader and voice for employment here in the UK. Hopefully to get to both of them, I'll be getting on tonight, all being well. However, if they don't come on, I got Brother Delamy, who is going to come on. Together, we'll unpack how Garvey's teaching on strategy, identity, and global unity still echo in our struggles and triumph today. So I'm going to say stay tuned, share the link, join the conversation, because tonight is not just about celebrating history, but we're activating Garvey's vision for our future. And why I say activating Garvey's vision for the future is that I strongly believe that it is no more just about having memorial, you know, you know, sorry, having memorials, having monuments, having statues of the greats, but the most important thing is to activate how these things can activate as much as possible. And that is very important. So before we dive in, I want to ask person this question. This question I'm going to ask her. When you hear, and so I'm going to actually be very interactive now. When you hear Marcus Garvey's name, and this is for persons who are listening and for persons who are on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, when you hear Marcus Garvey's name, what comes to your mind first? What does his message really mean to you today? Yeah, when you hear the name, what does it mean and what does it say to you today? I want to read some comments and hear what you have to say. What does Garvey mean for you today? Yeah. And yeah. And while we're doing that, I'm just going to play something again regarding his speech, because I believe the speech is very, very powerful. Okay. I'm here. Actually, Mr. Malek, no, you're not here. Actually, is that yourself there? Let me know if is that you, Brother Malek. Actually, you should have Stephen Golin should have sent you a link for you to come in on the show. If you haven't got a link, I need to send you a link. That's why I was really chasing him to get your number, to get your connections. You need a link. Oh, he never sent you the link. Okay. All right. Yes. I've been trying to chase him all day today. Never. Yeah. I don't want you to give your name over the air, but I'm gonna give you my number. Yeah, I'm gonna send you. I'm gonna put my number. My number is there public. My number is public out there. And then you can message me and I can send it to you. Okay. So that's my number there, which is there. And if you message me, I will send you the link, and you can come in as much as possible. Thank you so much for that. I definitely was chasing all day today, but the show must go on as well. And so if you message me, I'll send you the link. As a matter of fact, what I can do is to send you the link right here as well, so you can actually come in. Great activist speaking legend to remember. Okay. There's the link. I don't know if you can pick up that link right there and to come in. But while I do that, let me just play this.
Did not suffer and die to give me an education to slight, oppress, or discourage my people. Because whatsoever education I acquired out of their sacrifice of over 300 years, I shall use for the salvation of the 400 million black people of the world. And the day when I forsake my people, may God Almighty say there shall be no more life for you. I unequivocally rejected the racist assumption of much white American Christianity, namely that God had created the black man inferior and that he had intended Negroes to be a servant class, hewers of wood and drawers of water. Well, I predicated my view of man on the doctrine of Imago Dei. All men, regardless of color, are created in the image of God. Now, from this premise followed the equality of all men and the brotherhood of all men. The biblical injunction of Acts 17:26 reminds us that he created of one blood all nations of men that dwell on the face of the earth. I was most interested in brotherhood within his own race, because if Negroes are created in God's image and Negroes are black, then God must in some sense be black.
Okay, that's Marcus Garvey there, his own voice. Brother Minister Malek, how are you doing, sir?
Yes, sir. Greetings. How are you doing
Greetings.
today?
Not bad, not bad, not bad, not bad. I think
Can you see me?
yes, finally.
Yes, sir.
I mean, we're in London. I was running around London, shouting your name, in the night, and say, "Brother man."
Yeah, we're punctual. Today I had some other things to take care of and dealing with my son, but we agreed on a time, and I was here waiting for you.
Yes. Welcome and thank you so much for joining, sir. I don't know what happened. I sense also there's an issue with Stephen's phone.
Yeah, I believe his phone must be off and he must be on the road, but he should join us as soon as he can.
Okay, fantastic. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining, and we just go straight into it. I don't know if you heard those videos I was playing. I was listening to the voice of Marcus Garvey there,
Yes, sir.
And I put the question to you first. I put the question also to persons. Before we go any further, sorry, tell us about yourself, Brother Malek.
Well, I'm currently the president of the UNIA London division. Prior to that, I had another organization called AWF, but sometimes we find ourselves reinventing the wheel.
Yes.
Everybody wants to create something, but the greatest gift to our race, which was Marcus Garvey, created an organization which was universal.
Yes.
And it included all of Black people. So rather than continue to create the will, I decided to join the great fraternity, and I joined the UNIA in 2018, I believe.
Yes.
And I became the president, and I'm currently the European commissioner also. We're trying to establish divisions all across Europe and the UK. I don't really know what to say about myself, really. The works is what we're really trying to establish. This thing is not really about one man, even though we honor Marcus Garvey, the greatest gift to our race. The greatest thing he gave us was Garveyism, which is the philosophy, which is what we're trying to, reinstate into our people today, because it's the only solution for our people to be self-reliant, to see everything. You played, the speech, and if people listen to that speech, Garvey is telling us that, if other nations see God in their image, we too must see God in our image. If you look around the world, everybody sees God in their own image. But we find ourselves seeing God through the spectacles of other people. And we do that with our own individual lives. We find ourselves joining things that don't benefit us. We find ourselves, we have not much in the UK, if we're honest with ourselves. We have pockets of great people doing great works, but in terms of a collectiveness, we struggle for the collective security, which is what Garveyism was saying, or Garvey was saying. He didn't separate brothers in Sweden, brothers in Australia, brothers on the continent, brothers in Jamaica, brothers in America. It was a universal philosophy which included all of Black people.
Yeah. No, that is great, and I like what you said at the start about that. It's not about you, but it's about the teachings of Garveyism, and one of the questions which I coined was this. It was about how relevant today would we say is Garveyism. Garvey spoke of unity, self-reliance, and nation building.
That's right.
How relevant are those values in 2025 Britain? We're focused on Britain because it's Black History Month,
Yes, sir. My dear brother, it is the only solution for us.
Yeah.
If you look around at our community, if you look at the youth today, they suffer from a lack of identity. The crime, black or so-called black on black violence. I say so-called because we don't say white on white violence. But we see in the community, you find Even the food that we eat.
Yes.
We do not import them. We do not profit off them. Another people serve us this food. And if you ask them, how do you cook yam? They don't know. How do you boil banana? They don't know. What's the difference between green banana and plantain? They don't know. But they say that to us. So, every aspect of our lives, we're not taking control of. And Garveyism will make us men and women again, and make us good fathers, or real fathers and real mothers, real grandparents. We would establish something. We would have black schools, we would have black businesses, we'd have a black economic base, and these are the things that we're struggling with right now in the UK. We don't have a collective body of work, people working together for a collective goal. And everybody would agree that we must have something for ourselves. It doesn't take a genius to know that black people need to have something for themselves, but we struggle with the unity in making us come together to acquire these things that we all know that we need so desperately.
All right, listen to this. Listen to this.
Syria did it. France under Napoleon did it. Germany under Prince von Bismarck did it. England under America under George Washington did it. Africa with 400 million black people can do it. If you cannot do it, if you are not prepared to do it, then you will die. You race of cowards, you race of imbeciles, you race of good for nothing. If you cannot do what other men have done, what other nations have done, what other races have done, then you had better die.
Break that down.
Yes, sir. I know. That is so powerful. I've played that speech to so much people.
I was watching your lip syncing it. You're actually.
I love that speech, brother. Because and this is the reality of it. If we're not prepared to do what other nations have done, we are gonna suffer. We are gonna die, and we are dying right now. We're dying an economic death. We're dying an educational death. Look at us now. How much people? I'm wearing the Malcolm X hat. We know Malcolm X was a child of Garvey. His parents was a part of the organization. But the knowledge was the liberation. The knowledge. Garvey talks about us striking the blow first. But to go back to your question about breaking that statement down, it's quite self-explained. If we're not prepared to do what other people are doing, we're gonna suffer and continue to suffer, and ultimately we're gonna die. There's another speech where Garvey says, if the European man comes to us and takes back everything that he's given us, we don't have a name, we don't have a language, we don't have a business, we don't have a home. Like we don't have no clothes on our back. Like everything we have, sadly, somebody else is providing this service to us. And Garvey is saying, hold on, wait a minute now. We should be providing these services for ourselves. We can do it. Yes, we can. Garvey goes on and says, yes, we can. In that same speech, we can do it. Yeah. We can do it.
Actually, I'm sorry. I've got to play that last bit there, and I know you know exactly where we're saying. And ladies and gentlemen, I've got to just play this bit here about can we do it? Is that the bit there? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's go, ladies and gentlemen. This is for you.
Can we do it? We can do it. We shall do it. We have prayed to God for vision and for leadership. And He has given us a universal vision. A vision that will not limit our possibilities to America. A vision that will not limit our possibilities to the West Indies, but a vision that said it must be a free and redeemed Africa. Christ the crucified, Christ the despised. We appeal to you for
a very charismatic, powerful, hear the passion deep within. And you could see, because in the book here, they selected writings of Marcus Garvey. There's a bit here at the first page, introduction. A Southern woman who joined the UNIA said, Garvey is giving my people backbones where they had wishbones.
Mm-hmm.
And you can sense like it's like our people need something. What is it, brother? What is it, brother, Minister Malek?
You know, I don't know if I'm going to answer the question you're answering, but I think that we're looking for somebody, you know, and I think it comes even from the religious teaching that we hear about Christ the Redeemer. You know, we're you know, Christ is the problem solver. So we're looking for a man that's going to come and solve all of our problems. But the reality is, no one but ourselves can solve these problems. We can't look to nobody but ourselves. And even though Garvey was the man that was bringing this teaching to us, he was telling us, listen, like I was saying before, you yourself must strike the first blow. You know, Bob Marley sung the song, you know, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. No one but ourselves can free our minds. That's a Garvey quote. And if you look at it, no one but ourselves can free our mind. We are in control, brothers and sisters. You know, the world is ours. It's up to us to take it. You know, Garvey teaches us that they have bluffed us into believing that the world is theirs. You know, and many of us believe that. But, you know, it's a new generation. A new generation will come. And they won't believe in the same teachings that we got. You know, and they will do the worst, because ultimately, brothers and sisters, what Garvey was talking about in the 1920s is the same thing that we're facing now. And the same thing he was trying to do then is the same thing we have to try to do now. And if we don't do it, our grandchildren that will have to come, or their grandchildren would have to come and do the same thing that we're saying now. So, you know, we can turn the cheek, we can act like we don't know what we're supposed to do, but ultimately the day shall come when Africa shall be free. And when Africa is free, we shall be free in Europe. You know, anywhere the Chinese man goes, he sets up a China account. You know, he's got his economic base. You know, he's got his power base. You look at the Jewish community also. They've got Stamford Hill in London. They got their own ambulance system, their own police system in London.
Security, yes.
In London. So it's not like it cannot be done. It can be done if we want it to be done. You know,
well, someone just said, stop begging to sit at someone else's table, build your own table and own the land it sits on, you know. Garvey's message.
And that, sorry to cut you, my brother, but that is very important, because we find ourselves begging to sit at somebody else's table and there's nothing on our plate. We're watching other people eat while we're here starving. You know, many people want to come to the UK and, you know, chase this dream. Many people want to go to America. They talk about the great American dream and all of these things, but we're experiencing a nightmare. We haven't benefited like all other communities have benefited from being in these places. You know, we need to establish our own table, as the brother or sister was saying in that comment, and stop begging to join someone else's, because only in your house will you be respected. You can't go to someone else's house and want to be respected. No, it doesn't work like that, brothers and sisters. You have to set a house for yourself, and then you can set up laws and regulations on how you want to live in your house. But go ahead, you look like you got something there, sir.
No. I've been stuck at page 35 for a long time. Anybody who follows me know that I'm stuck at the same point here. This is no time for bowing and scraping and pussyfooting. It's time to let the other fella know that you're alive. Break that little two-liners down for, you know, what that is saying there, what Marcus is saying.
You know, when you're begging, this is just something simple. When you're begging, you're not alive. You're begging. When you have for yourself, you're living. You know, sometimes we ask us, how you doing? I'm surviving. That's a lot of brothers will say, how things? I mean, I'm surviving now. But we're not living.
Living
and surviving is two different things.
Yes.
And when you're living, you're respected. No one respects a beggar.
Yes.
Even though we see some people on the road, they're begging you. Some people just walk past, left me alone. And, you know, they just look down on our brothers and sisters, not knowing how they got to that position. But that's a different conversation. But people don't respect a sufferer. People like a champion. You know, the world wants to see winners. The world doesn't want to see losers, unfortunately. You know, and when you're winning, you can dictate how things are going to go. And Garvey was trying to create champions amongst us. Remember, at the time we were just coming out of slavery. You know, he read the book, Booker T. Washington. Many people have said that book was the book that sparked his brain. You know, I bet it's different somewhat, but it's been written. You know, Garvey already knew what he had to do. But I think when he read that book, he realized, okay, there's other people trying to do what I'm thinking. And he wanted to meet up with Booker T to establish a Tuskegee institution in Jamaica originally. But when he got to the Americas and he realized, hold on, the condition that he saw, he said, we have to build something here. And then he just realized that throughout his travels, because I don't know if people are aware, before Garvey went to America, he came to Europe. He was in London. He was in Cardiff. He traveled Europe as well. And then he went back to Jamaica with the idea of setting up the UNIA in I know it was set up in 1916, but I don't know what time he went back. I don't want to get the dates wrong. But nevertheless, he traveled and he realized that the same conditions that we face in Jamaica is the same conditions in America, is the same conditions in Europe. So there's something that is taking place amongst the Black or African experience, that we're experiencing the same thing anywhere we are.
Yeah. No. That's really powerful there. And the big question about, so Garvey's message, has it evolved, or have we, and I'm going to say the collective, drifted away from its true purpose?
My truth, if I'm going to be truthful with you, my brother, please. I would say we've drifted apart. We've now just got Garvey as a hero, rather than the Garveyism part. So we will see Garvey on a Ludo board, or we will sing songs about Marcus Garvey as an individual, but we're forgetting that there's a philosophy that comes with this. Now, what is that philosophy? Race first, some people would say, putting your race first in everything you do. And a lot of the time we struggle from nation building. We run away from nationalism, or Garvey was dealing with universal African nationalism. We run away from these things. I remember one time, I went on another podcast, and I was talking with a brother, and they was talking about the great humanitarian cause, and I was saying, well, I understand that there is a humanitarian cause that we must be working towards, but as my grandmother would always say, charity starts at home. But even if we take the character or the figure of Christ, Jesus Christ, the Messiah, as some people will call him, he came here to create the brotherhood, and what happened to him? They killed him. So even Christ couldn't create what these people are telling us that we should be doing, and no other people on this earth is practicing this collective, everybody hold hands and get along. Everybody in their own pocket is practicing nationalism. Everybody's doing it. The European, right now in Europe, I don't know if people are aware, those that are from London or the UK, the European in Europe, he's trying to build a nation for himself again. He feels that he's been robbed of his nation, and he's marching through the street. A few weeks ago or a month ago, they had a march in London.
Yes.
And it was like, they said maybe 100,000 people was there. Maybe more.
They said more than,
So there's something going on amongst them, my brothers and sisters, and we're too busy escaping things or trying to have fun and all of these things. We need to become political now on where we are in the world.
It's very interesting what you say. Somebody just confirmed UNIA-ACL was established in 1914. So we got our fact checkers here.
Yes, indeed.
It is interesting what you say right there, because when the march came to London recently, and when you hear Reform Party speaking about getting rid of ILR, indefinite leave to remain, I see some different podcasts or persons saying, boy, England are nice again, we have to leave and go back a yard and go Babylon and everything like that. Now, what do you think about that? Is it that a runaway mentality, or we don't understand who we are?
Well, going back to Jamaica may be a bit nicer than here, but ultimately, who runs Jamaica?
Well, somebody just said a while ago, see what somebody said? We have a PM sitting on the Privy Council of a nation that enslaved us, when our so-called leaders aspire to sit at the table of their former slave masters. We have a way to go.
That's right. And Garvey speaks about these leaders. I think maybe one of the speeches that you played, he said, any leadership that teaches you to depend on another man is a leadership that will kill you in not so much words. So, we don't, today, I would argue that we don't have any leaders, true leaders in the definition of what the word means. We don't have any leaders. We got people that claim that they're representing us, but they're not. I think there's been very few leaders that we've had in the UK, to be honest with you. And lately, I haven't seen much true leaders in the UK. I haven't. Forgive me for sounding like this, but I'm kind of a blunt person. I'd rather the honest truth than a sweet lie.
Say it as it is, yeah.
Yeah, just tell it how it is. We need true leaders. We need people that can't be bought. You know, you can't give them a paid check, you know, to pay them to keep themselves in check. Yeah, you can't give them a little bit of money and they forget about their cause.
But don't you think? But don't you think one of the reasons why that is because of the unity of the race, unity of our people? Because when you look at different races or so in the political zone, their people will support them in a financial way where they can somehow not be, should I say, bought out to a certain extent. You got the Jews, you got the Asians there. But is it that as a person, we don't have that collective with that economic clout?
I think we don't have that race clout because it's not that we don't have the money. We have the money. We just don't have the racial backbone or the racial education. Because if you look at the church, for instance, like the church has the majority of black people. And there was a time when the church was the school, the church was the after school care, the church was the place you have the parties, the church
elders as well,
in the community. Now, pastor just buys himself a new car and new shoes. There's no community element in majority of these churches. And I'm not a Christian, but I acknowledge that the church has played a part in the liberation somewhat of our people throughout the years. There was a hub because grandma went there, auntie went there, uncle went, well, maybe not uncle, but the women in the family was in the church. And they used that church as a building that was doing things to empower our people. There was Saturday schools taking place in churches. You know, where's the Saturday schools now? We have in London, Africa Bantu Saturday School. You know, we have the Al-Kebalan Saturday schools, but we need more of these things. And it's not shouldn't just be a Saturday either. Because the enemy is not working against us just one day of the week.
Or 1 month.
Or 1 month. He's working against us every single day, even on Christmas. He's not stopping. He's not taking any break. Or Ramadan or whatever holy days they may be, they're not stopping their agenda. So one day is not going to be enough. We need to be working towards the liberation of our people every single day. And it's a hard task and people are scared of it. And they don't want to take on the baton and they just think it's too much. Some people will say black people can't unite. I've heard it. We can't get it together. Oh, we're doomed. With that kind of mentality, we're never going to get it. We have to speak it into existence.
Speak it into existence.
Said, can we do it? Garvey is telling me, can we? Yes, we can. We shall do it.
I love that, and I could picture that moment when he maybe just sit back and he stepped back, he sort of sat back and he just smile and say, "Can we do it?" You know, and everybody's just like, "Yeah, we can do it." Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm having Brother Malek, the president of the UNIA UK chapter here tonight, talking about Marcus Garvey and the legacy and the inspiration of it and how it applies to today. If you're watching live, drop in the chat. Do you your answer to this? Do you think Garvey's message still applies today? Yes or no? Those on Instagram, those on Facebook, those on YouTube, and also TikTok. Do you think Garvey's message still applies today? Yes or no? And I'm going to put another question after that. Are you applying it to yourself? Are you applying it in your sphere of influence? Isn't that a fair question? Isn't that a fair statement, Brother Malek? Because we can say yes, and we celebrate Marcus Garvey, and we have a monument, and we have a memorial, and we celebrate, but do we apply it in our sphere of influence?
You know, when we do the Marcus Garvey memorial, I don't use the word memorial. I use the word veneration.
Okay.
Because we want to venerate him. And the way you venerate a person like Marcus Garvey is to continue the works. Do you understand? To truly honor Marcus Garvey, it's not to say it's to sing a song. Yes, sing the song. It's not to write a book. Yes, write the book. But ultimately is to do the work that he was trying to do. And only when it's been completed, then we can keep him as a holiday. But the work must go on. The work must continue. You know, and I would argue, well, that's not even an argument. This is the facts, the truth, that Marcus Garvey's ideas or Garveyism is the only thing that ever worked. And it's the only thing that included all black people. Now think about that, brothers and sisters. There's been many movements in our history, great movements, but how many of these movements included all African people, wherever they was in the globe? And I will tell you that there was only one, and that was the Universal Negro Improvement Association. And it still stands in 2025, the only movement we've had collectively that included all of our brothers wherever they were in the continent of the world or the earth or the south, the north, the west, whether they spoke Spanish, French. In the Negro World newspaper, we had a Spanish section, we had a French, we didn't separate our people on languages or complexions or Jamaica, or, Garvey even said it, I'm not give up the island for a continent.
And that is from 1914, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we was, somebody in the chat, added the date, it was July, and we celebrate that as Founders Day. I don't know if many people do. But these things should be celebrated. But ultimately, my dear brother, we have to be continuing the work, because we can find ourselves quotable Garveys and come to our house as a shrine for Garvey. And yes, we should. But ultimately, if you're not doing the work, then what really are we saying? What really are we doing?
If we roll back our memory lane, go back into the memory and bring it into today, Garvey built the Black Star Line to promote economic independence. What would that look like today? What would you say that would look like today in today's economy if we follow that same principle there?
We wouldn't necessarily need, a boat or a ship.
Yeah.
I'm saying we might have an airline. We might have the airline, the Black Star Line airline.
Yeah.
But ultimately, there was a reason why he was building these ships. And it was to build commerce between the continent, the Caribbeans and Europe. We're supposed to create our economy amongst ourselves. We should be able to get food from the farmers in St. Elizabeth in Jamaica, for instance, all the yam, banana that we want. We should be able to ship that to London, ship that to America. And we should be able to get all the kente cloths that we want from Ghana, Kumasi. We should be able to get that shipped directly to us without no middleman. Other nations have. So, it wasn't just about the Star Line. And, also people bought shares into these things as well. So it was also about creating generational wealth, because you've now bought into a multi-million-dollar empire with your shares. So we was able to build a network or some wealth, generational wealth for our children. You could give your child the shares. Ultimately they, the powers that be shut him down. But imagine how much those ships cost back then. And you translate that money into today's money. We're talking a lot of money, brothers and sisters.
And therefore the thinking behind this is also something which is focusing. It could be a thing whereby we are focusing on too much representation and not enough on ownership. And ownership is very crucial.
100%. And that's the main thing. Because if you don't own it, then what it really is it? It's appeasement.
A man just take it, as them say, they just pull the rug from underneath you, if anything like that. How can black? Yeah.
Sorry, but whoever is controlling that has the means to tell you how to run that. And they might turn around. And this is the problem that we've had. Many organizations I know that have been trying to do the works over the years. They will get a building, they rent in, and then the owner finds out what they're doing, and now they're getting kicked out. They no longer have a building anymore. Like, whoever is educating you, he has the power to determine what you know. And whoever's controlling your buildings, your economic system, he has the power to control what you have. So this is why there's been no African nations yet, I say yet, that have ever had any nuclear weapons. Because the people that are making these things made sure that they're not going to let us have it. But a new day is coming now. We see what's going on in Burkina Faso with Ibrahim. Things are changing. We will become the great Africa again. Garvey spoke about what man has done before in the past. Man can do again. So anything that man has done in history, we too can do it. Why look at the I'm going to end here. I know you're about to say something, but
go on. I'm with you, man.
We marvel at the great Kemet or Egyptian empire.
Yeah.
How did our ancestors do that? It's beautiful. But we too must build a empire that future generations will marvel, just like we marvel at the great Ethiopia or the great Zimbabwe.
No, that is very powerful. Brother Delani even said something a while ago. Scientific Garveyism is very relevant to our liberation today, as much as possible. And I'm just looking at some of these comments here. It's all, and one of the things that I was saying to Stephen as well is I want to have the discussion about the application of today. I was saying the nurses, the teachers, the student, the living of the Garveyism thinking? How can Black entrepreneurs and professionals apply Garvey's model of unity and investment right here? Yeah, okay. Let me ask you this question: how can Black entrepreneurs and professionals apply Garvey's model of unity and investment right here in the UK? The thinking behind it. I have an idea, but I want you to speak first. Yeah.
I would always, I'm part of an organization. I believe that the UNIA is the solution. If people join the organization, we have a model. If we had the people, we will be able to do all of these things that people are seeking for, that people need. You talk about the nurses. We had the Black Cross. Garvey had the Black Cross. If we had enough people in the organization to fill these positions, the organization is already built. The blueprint or black print is already there. The proof is not necessarily in the pudding, it's in the tasting of the pudding.
Yeah.
You have to taste the pudding to taste the proof. We've proved that if we come together under the banner of the UNIA, we can accomplish this. The only problem is that we're not able to draw the people in. This is the struggle that we're facing now. Is how am I going to get everybody or enough people together to be able to establish the same thing that you're mentioning now? How do we build unity? How do we build an economic base? Unity is how we build it. But the question again goes back to, how do we get this unity?
I want to do something here while we're talking, so people can. What's the contact for people to get involved with the UNI? What's the link?
We're on the social media. We're on Negro World Media on YouTube. We're on Instagram is UNIA London. UNIA underscore London. Yeah. And then we have another one, UNIA London, the number 1.
London, and that is what? That's Instagram, yeah?
Yeah, another Instagram.
Okay.
So one I kind of keep as like a news information, and one I will just post things, about myself, what I'm doing, and what the organization is doing. One is more like, I would like to say, like a news reporter, because we're not reporting anything in our community, and if we're not recording it, then we don't know what's going on.
And if people want to join, what's the procedure? What if they want to join?
We have our membership for, from you are of African or African descent, you can join the great fraternity. From you're willing to work for the liberation of our people and the restoring of Africa, you're welcome to join. People pay tithes if they have. If they don't, there's other ways. We're not an organization that is trying to suck the blood out of our people. We're here to help heal ourselves and our people together. We deal with the philosophy of our ancestors that say Bantu. I am because we are.
Yes.
If you have, I have. If I have, you have.
And is there like a website or so?
The website currently, our president in Washington DC, he's currently just revamping the website, so that will be very soon it will be available to everybody. But if anybody wants to get involved, that is my Instagrams. You can message me.
I'll post that shortly.
Any hours of the day. We work 24 hours, 7 days a week. We any problems we're going through, you have problems with your children, we're here to help. It takes a village to raise these children, so a lot of the work that we've been doing in the community is more of a mentoring thing, because that was my passion, or is my passion. But ultimately we have to help each other to get what we want to get in this life.
Marcus Garvey, Marcus Garvey said, emancipate yourself from mental slavery, none but ourselves to free your mind. And we are from Bob Marley. Many people thought that's where it came from originally. Garvey emphasized mental emancipation. Do our schools, I think I know the question, I know the answer. Do our schools and institutions reflect that in Black History Month?
Our schools?
Yeah, do our schools and institutions reflect
our schools? What do you mean? Because I don't really know of any our schools. I see their schools that we go to, and then the question arises, you can't send your child to Rome and complain when he comes back a Roman. So we can't keep allowing other people to do what we should be doing for ourselves. It's not for the school to teach us about who we are. Their job is to make sure we don't find out who we are. They're there to train us. Our great Dr. Amos Wilson said that, the more educated we got, the more problems we got. So that shows that there's a problem with this education system. This education system is training us to become good slaves. Not to say we shouldn't get our degrees and these things. Don't take me out of context. Yes, brothers and sisters, get your degrees. Garvey was, proved that, education is a key, because he went to Birkbeck University in London. He talked about reading a lot. The same information that they have in the universities, you too can have in your house. Every house should have a library. So I'm not running away from education. I'm just saying to you that we ourselves, must use or must work for ourselves and not for the betterment of other people. So when you say our schools, it's their schools, and their schools will only do what they feel to do, not for our benefit.
So therefore, the best way to get around this, like when we say like Black History Month, for argument's sake, okay, this is Black History Month. Now everybody line up and people say Black History Month, this is going to happen. Different organizations are ticking boxes to show that there are diversity. Schools are now getting excited. Schools are getting excited, bringing in speakers there.
Yes.
But don't you think that, like yourself, your organizations and other Black organizations should be doing things monthly, regularly, ourselves?
That's right. And I'm not running away from Black History Month.
Yeah.
It's a great thing. But, what is White History Month, for argument's sake? If we have 1 month of the year where we say we're celebrating Black history, so the other 12 months of the year, what are we celebrating? And can 1 month really teach you about your great? We are people that's been on this earth for millions of years. 1 month can't even teach you anything. You have to be studying this thing regularly. There's different. You can read Malcolm X. You can go back to, Egypt. You can go to Zimbabwe. You can go back to even Taki in Jamaica. You can go to Nat Turner. There's so much. I'm just talking recent history. There's so much for you to learn. 1 month can't do it. We have to be doing this every single day. Like I was saying before, the people we're up against, they're working every single day to keep us in this position. So in order for us to free ourselves, we too must be working every single day to uplift ourselves. And it starts with yourself, as Garvey said, emancipate yourself.
Yeah. But Brother Malek, this is like deja vu. This is something since I've been in this country. Okay, I'm from Jamaica, whereby so you're black and black. Where you come to the UK now, you realize that you're black. You're black in Jamaica. All the different issues, but this is something that I've been here all the while. Let's keep talking about this all the while. We need to work together. We need to.
Yes.
Why is it not connecting then?
The division. Now, this is why Garveyism is so vital to the solution for our people, because it didn't care what you was. You could be a Muslim, a Christian, a Rastafarian, or whatever your belief system was. You could join here. Nowadays Muslims only want to par with Muslims, Christians only want to par with Christians, the Rastas only want to par with the Rastafarians, the non-believers want to par with themselves, and then the historians want to par. No, we have to bring all of it together, because ultimately we are a family. And when you have family, you're going to have different philosophies in the house. There's a saying where you say, 5 children, for instance, 5 different minds, but you're still your child, right?
Yeah.
We misunderstand. We need to get that in our heads, that regardless of what we believe the solution is, we must still come together and work towards the solution, because ultimately you want to see us better, I want to see us better. However we get there is the argument, but ultimately the goal should be the same. And if the goal is the same, we need to now unify on the goal. And then once we unify on the goal, we can figure out, okay, let's take pieces of this, maybe take pieces from that, let's bring that together and work together. I personally think that's the only way. I've heard elders say the same thing I'm saying. I born and seen this. And I haven't seen people do it. I've seen in the 70s, there was, I never saw, I'm not as old enough to say I see what happened in the 70s.
Yes.
I've seen in the UK footage of black people in the 70s, and I saw what we could have potentially accomplished. There was a unity in the UK. Yes, we was going through great tribulations in terms of racism. It was more open. Now it's a bit more institutionalized. So it brought us together. We came together on the treatment that we was getting. But brothers and sisters, has the treatment really changed?
Some
speed it up a little bit.
You okay?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Yeah. Somebody just said a while ago, did you know that there's a statue of Gandhi in Jamaica while the one in Ghana was destroyed?
Yeah. And Gandhi, that's a story for another day. But
Yes.
Gandhi, some people have him up as a hero. I don't.
Yeah.
To
How
his
can
own
we?
people.
Yeah.
To his own people, because this is a conversation for another day. But when you study history, brothers and sisters, what Garvey
Yes.
was saying, Garvey didn't just say just study your own history. Garvey said you must have encyclopedias in the house. And I remember as a child growing up in a Jamaican household, I lived with my grandmother. She bought me an encyclopedia, like a collection of encyclopedias. Yeah, there are volumes 1 to 12 or whatever. And then when I was reading that book, Message to the People, and Garvey was saying every house should have an encyclopedia, I was like, okay, I understand. It was a cultural thing, and what it done is it made us have access to these information. Remember, at the time we didn't have the internet. At the time, we didn't have a variety of black book scholars like Tony Martins, the Amos Wilson, the Sheikh Anti Diops, and others. We didn't have these things, but we had the encyclopedias to help us have access to these knowledges ourselves. Now we have the internet. So, really, we have all information at a touch of a button. Sorry. So is there a reason, or is there an excuse for our ignorance, brothers and sisters?
Well, that leads me to, I like how the show is going because it leads me to the next question, which is how can we bring Garvey's Pan-African vision to the life in a digital globalized world? Because, okay, years ago, Garvey was able to galvanize his messages widely without internet, through letters. Now we are living in this world now. We got TikTok, everything is at an instant. Why, or should me, whatever, use these platforms and start to generate writings, thinkings? Someone on Instagram a while ago just said this, Unstoppable You by Jeffrey Phillips is a new book of 50 quotes from Marcus Garvey to inspire greatness, perfect for youth. And I say, all who seek truth, right? Now, I think, Brother Malek, that we all have a responsibility. Okay, I utilize TikTok for argument's sake. And like what that person said there, 50 quotes of Marcus Garvey. People are always putting up quotes on these things and doing these 30-second quotes. I think we can start to do something in a very strategic way.
Of course.
I'll wait to hear what you say. Yeah.
I'll go, from something that I heard growing up amongst, family and things like that. Faith without works is dead.
Yes.
Something we've grown up and we hear these things. So what is that telling you, brothers and sisters, that quote? Faith without works is dead. Action, brothers and sisters, is what it's saying. Having the faith alone is not awakening you. It's not alive. It's the works now with that faith or with that teaching creates the electricity to make it flow. We can quote Garvey all day long. Yeah, but if we're not doing the works of Garvey, are we really quoting Garvey? Or are we just putting words together that Garvey said?
Yeah. But when you look at some of the teachings of Garvey, for argument's sake, and you take out the picture, take out the image of Garvey, a lot of what he's saying is applied by other races.
Of course.
Isn't it? if you just take away Marcus Garvey and say it somehow, you realize that other teaching, because it's like what the Bible says. The Bible says the children of the world is wiser than the children of light. They have taken the principles. So therefore, it is very poignant. And I was speaking to some virgins the other day. I said, there must be something. We can't just be accepting of things and just believe that we don't belong. When Marcus Garvey say you belong, you're not scraping from the bottom. Stop pussyfooting around. Don't bow. These are things that is like persons need to really get into their system, Brother Malek.
Yeah, I agree. And you mentioned something before, and I didn't answer it. Garvey was the greatest propaganda.
Yes.
Garveyism was the greatest propaganda for our people. And I think that in terms of getting the information out, as you was touching about social media and these things here, we have to evolve. So at the time when Garvey was around, the newspaper was how people got information. People sat down and read the newspaper. So what does Garvey go and do? Created a newspaper. And that newspaper was used to push the propaganda and show the works of the UNIA. We don't necessarily need a newspaper now, but we need a media body that is going to promote and push this propaganda out to the people. And then from the propaganda, we were able to change things, because we have to challenge another propaganda, and that's the propaganda that they're giving us. Anything black, no good.
Yes.
And, you know, black people can't accomplish nothing. You know, you're too dark. You know, you need to be fair-skinned. What does that really mean, fair-skinned? Does that mean God was fair with you and unfair with the other people? Oh, you got good hair. You know, we're dealing with a propaganda, that's been given to us, that's robbing us of our self-confidence. You know, Garvey was saying, you know, was giving us that self-confidence back. You know, he would say, don't take the knots out of your hair, take it out of your mind, brothers and sisters. You know, he would create black dollies for the children and said, don't give them no white dollies. You know, he would tell the man, take the white woman off your wall. You know, put the black woman up there. You know, he wrote poems about black women, the royalness of the black woman and the greatness of the black man. He was giving us confidence, and he was doing that, some would say, with propaganda. So the media, you know, we have the YouTubes now, we have the Instagram, we have the TikTok. We just haven't worked out how to mobilize enough of the people to make these platforms blow up, like the YouTube itself as a platform, like TikTok itself as a platform. It's huge. There's millions and billions of people using these things. How many billions of us are on this planet? You know, why can't we? Or yes, we can, but we should have something that our people could come to, and it's just for us. And we'll be able to use that propaganda to help uplift our people. But, you know, it has to happen, and it is happening, brothers and sisters. I never used to like to say that, because I like the truth. And the truth is that if we don't do the work, we're going to die. But when I look at Ibrahim, you know, I don't know how that relationship with Russia is going to play out. I don't know if he's making a bad decision. I don't know. Only time will tell. But I can see him installing confidence back in his people and African people around the world. And with that confidence, the world is ours. The world is ours. What does Garvey say? Up, you mighty race.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me just interject these words of Marcus Garvey. Ready?
Can we do it? We can do it. We shall do it. We have prayed to God for vision and for leadership. And he has given us a universal vision. A vision that will not limit our possibilities to America. A vision that will not limit our possibilities to the West Indies, but a vision that said it must be a free and redeemed Africa. Christ the crucified, Christ the despised. We appeal to you for help, for succor, for leadership. When you endeavor to carry your burden up the heights of Calvary, when white men scorned you, when white men scorned you, when white men spat upon you, when white men pierced your side out of it, blood and water gushed forth, it was a black man in the name of Simon the Syrian who took your cross and bore it up the heights of Calvary.
Powerful, brother. Powerful.
And you could the genuineness of this man.
You could hear the feel it
in his voice. You know, when the white man spat on us. When they imagine this, brothers and sisters, you're walking down the road and someone spits at you. You know, Garvey spoke about Africa for the Africans, and what is the cry now of the European? Europe for the European. This is his cry now. He wants everybody that ain't European out of Europe. You see him galvanizing himself to get rid of Islam, the brown man, and all other things. He wants Europe for the Europeans, and Garvey was saying, okay, then. If you lot want Europe for you lot, then we must have Africa. And if we must have Africa, you lot got to come out. Yeah, leave our minerals behind, leave our gold, leave our diamond, leave our oil, and get out. That is, you know, this is what they're saying, you know, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, they say.
There's a man that came behind Garvey by the name of Carlos Crooks.
Yeah.
He took the religious and pulled it.
He was a child, you know, born up, and Garvey knighted him also, and he had another movement. I think it was called the Black Brotherhood or the Blood Brothers. You know, he was dealing with universal African nationalism, and that's what Garvey, in somewhat, created. You know, some people would say Pan-African now, but at the time, Garvey never used the word Pan-African. He used the word universal African nationalism. That's what philosophy was. It's been broken down into many different things. Now, it doesn't matter what you call it. Call it what you want. Just do the work.
Do you believe Black communities now across the diaspora are connected or more divided? So we are talking about UK, USA, African nations, or so. Well, not the African nations because they're the base. But do you think we are connected?
We're definitely connected. 100% we're connected, but we are still divided. Whether we acknowledge the connection is another thing, but we are connected. Everything is connected in this life, unfortunately or fortunately.
Yeah.
If you look at your human body, if you break your finger, do you know that your whole body is not functioning properly until your finger is healed?
Yes.
So
because that's like it's all go on.
Everything is connected. Your whole body is connected, and we are like that as a people. If Kwame Nkrumah says what meaning for what is Ghana's independence if the whole of Africa is still in chains or not independent? So what happens to one person affects us all, whether we want to admit it or not, whether we want to see it or not. But in terms of our unity amongst us, we unite on some things. We might unite to go carnival. We might unite to have a party, a dance, or something like that. But that's it. The African Pioneers Movement. Yes, sir. I just saw the comment. But we're not united on these things. We unite on things that I would say more enjoyment. And even then, we don't even unite because somebody gets hurt.
Yes. And then it's split and everybody want to shut it down or something of that nature like that. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So,
I want to ask the question, if for people who are if you're in the UK, Canada, Caribbean or Africa, drop your flag in the chat. Let's see Garvey's vision of unity come alive. Let me see where you're from as well. In closing, because we will never have a conclusion on this particular topic. We got to keep going on. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go on TikTok after. I'm going to close off the YouTube and go on to TikTok and have some discussion more on this particular for maybe about 40 minutes or so. If you could share one Garvey principle every young Black person should hold on to, what would it be? Something that you believe is crucial.
It's the teaching of race first. That is so powerful. Marry a Black person, have Black children, put your race first in whatever you do. If you've got some money, give it to the Black man before you give it to anybody else. Invest in your people, help your people, put your race first in everything you can. And I will add that I have a quote that I've learned from Garveyism, and that is to love Black people more than they hate themselves. We have to love our people in the state they're in, because we've gone through some serious things that we've gone through, brothers and sisters. A lot of us may forget, but if you don't remember yesterday, you don't know where you're going tomorrow. So we need to know the story, connect ourselves to the story, so that we don't repeat the same mistakes, and we can build and build and build. But that is the one thing, brother. Race first.
Yeah. I like what you said. Something there. You said something really which was powerful. Love each Black person, even though what they hate themselves.
I said love them more. I said love our people more than they hate themselves, and we hate ourselves a lot. So you need a lot of love, because our people will test us. Our people, sometimes bad things will happen to you from other Black people. Other Black people will do you wrong, but you have to love them more than they hate themselves.
Yes,
we have to see the bigger picture and work for the bigger goal, and that is for the unification of the race.
And what you're trying to say is like finding that common ground, that common denominator, if anything, and expand on it. I guess that's what.
And that's Black, and that's just being Black. That is the first thing that we must agree on, that we're Black or African, or call it us a new name, but we're united under this. And then from we've united under that, we can move on. Because, sadly, brother, there's some people that will say they're not Black, they're not African, they're this, they're that. We haven't even agreed. And that is the foundation. That is the fundamental thing. Once we can agree on the fundamental thing, we can now move forward. Take it to the next step. And then the next step. And then the next step, one-on-one coca-fill basket, my dear brother. So one-on-one people, we will soon get there. Slowly, every day, try to reach somebody. in a positive way. Try to touch somebody in a positive way rather than be negative to you. But I don't mean talking about our brothers and sisters, you know. I'm talking about it within our race, you know. Let's stick to, you know, let's start thinking racial. Because I think that we haven't been we haven't been thinking racial for a little while in the UK anyway. I think we need to now come back and try to figure out, okay, then we need to build a black community. You know, they're gentrifying everywhere we've been. You know, from grandma past, the house gets sold. We're losing our equity, our state in places. You know, we don't have a community. They're scattering us around the UK. You know, we don't have a place like we used to.
You know, a friend of mine who is into properties and investment and sort of advisor, and he's saying, Silburn, a lot of our people here are sitting on some really powerful equity. But sometimes the advice is not getting to them really, because sometimes they give it to the children, but the children just sell it off and don't keep it, you know. So therefore there's a level of education, as I say, education, some fundamental education that need to be fuel. But this discussion is not just a discussion that I want to have regarding Marcus Garvey, Black History Month. What are you doing, Silburn, for Black History Month? I'm going to talk on Marcus Garvey. Next, I'm going to talk on Mary C. Cole or whatever. That's not what it's about. I'm more into having movements. And I'm going to ask you this last question here, Brother Malek, is what's one practical step? And I'm going to apply this also to people who are in the chat. What would you say is a practical step that we can take this month to live Garvey's message, not just quote it? So I'm going to put that to you, but I'm also asking persons in the chat to actually write it down on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. You know, what's one practical step we can take this month?
I don't know if it's a one step, but, you know, first thing, be black, think back, buy back, and everything will naturally fall in place. So to be black, you think back, you buy black, and things will fall in place, brothers and sisters. You know, that's the first thing. Anybody can do that. Everybody can be black. You know, have the, you know, when I say black, color, culture, consciousness, that's what being black is. But you be black, you know, you think black, what a black person should think like, because you don't want to be a lion thinking like a cat. You know, like a domestic cat, and you are a lion, they call you the king of the jungle, but you're moving like a domestic cat. No, you want to think like the lion, act like the lion, eat what lions eat. You know, so be black, think black, and buy black too. You know, help the black small businesses in the community. You know, sometimes I hear people say the service is bad, but, you know, still support them. You know, just regardless, and then everything will start to fit in place. And then if you continue to do that for one more month, and then you realize, well, the whole year you've just been your authentic black self throughout the whole year. You haven't gone back to being Tom or David or whatever name they gave you.
Yes. I'm going to say unity is our weakness. We need to work more on that. Race first. Someone on Instagram said this, and I believe it's very important that I reach out to this person. If we're going to talk about connecting and utilizing and reinforcing, Jeffrey Phillip, the person said, has created a brilliant, do you know him? Brilliant.
I've heard about it though.
Yeah, a brilliant curriculum that teaches Garvey. He's creating waves on TikTok, brothers. So, you know, I'm on TikTok, so we're gonna have that name, Jeffrey Phillip, Andreen Bonner. If you reach out to me, if anything, and let us connect.
Me too. Connect me also, please.
Yes, definitely, brother Malek. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I must apologize for Stephen Golding. He's not like him, but he has made sure that we were connected at the same time, because he said, brother Minister Malek will be here as well. So that was really awesome. But before I do my closing, what's your last word, brother Malek?
You know, first I would like to thank you for allowing me to come onto this space, to be here with my beloved brothers and sisters online. That's first things first, you know, and also extend the thanks to our brother Stephen. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it today, but, you know, nevertheless, I was able to continue the message to everybody. You know, and I would just say to people, you know, try to live this, not just talk about it. Anybody can talk it. Let's try to walk it.
Yes.
You know, I'm tired of hearing people say, well said. You know what we want to hear? Well done. Well done, brother. Well done, sister. Not well said. We've already said it. We already know it. Now it's time for us to already do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining tonight. And I'm going to be going over on TikTok when I finish here. Powerful Marcus Garvey said, a people without knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. Tonight, we have watered those roots. Now it's on us to grow. Thank you, Brother Malek. And thank you also, Stephen Golden. And thank you, everyone, for watching, keeping the conversation alive. And remember, as I always say, Black History Month isn't just for a month. It's a lifelong strategy. And while I go out, I'm going to, I have to play Garvey. I'll just play this for a couple of minutes. Brother Malek, just bear with me.
Did not suffer and die to give me an education to slight, oppress, or discourage my people. Because whatsoever education I acquired out of their sacrifice of over 300 years, I shall use for the salvation of the 400 million black people of the world. And the day when I forsake my people, may God Almighty say there shall be no more life for you. I unequivocally rejected the racist assumption of much white American Christianity, namely that God had created the black man inferior and that he had intended Negroes to be a servant class, hewers of wood and drawers of water. Well, I predicated my view of man on the doctrine of Imago Dei. All men, regardless of color, are created in the image of God. Now, from this premise followed the equality of all men and the brotherhood of all men. The biblical injunction of Acts 17:26 reminds us that he created of one blood all nations of men that dwell on the face of the earth. I was most interested in brotherhood within his own race, because if Negroes are created in God's image and Negroes are black, then God must, in some sense, be black. If the white man has the idea of a white God, let him worship his God as he desires. We have found a new ideal, because whilst our God has no color, and yet it is human to see everything through one's own spectacles, and since the white people have seen their God through their white spectacles, we have only now started to see our God through our own spectacles. For we believe in the God of Ethiopia, the everlasting God, God of Father, God of Son, God of Holy Ghost, the one God of all ages. That is the God in whom we believe, but we shall worship him through the spectacles of Ethiopia. For 250 years, we have struggled under the burden and rigors of slavery. We were maimed, we were brutalized, we were ravaged in every way. We are men. We have hopes, we have passions, we have feelings, we have desires just like any other race. The cry is raised all over the world of Canada for the Canadians, of America for the Americans, of England for the English, of France for the French, of Germany for the Germans. Do you think it unreasonable that we, the blacks of the world, should raise the cry of Africa for the Africans? The Negro is the man. We represent a new Negro. His back is not yet against the wall. We do not want his back against the wall, because that would be a peculiar and desperate position. We do not want him there. It is because of this that we are asking for fair compromise. Where the Belgians have control of the Belgian Congo, which they cannot use, they have not the resources to develop, nor the intelligence. The French have more territory than they can develop. There are certain parts of Africa in which they cannot live at all. So it is for you to come together and give us a United States of Africa. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are not going to be a race without a country. God never intended it, and we are not going to abuse God's confidence in us as men. We are men, human beings, capable of the same acts as any other race, possessing under fair circumstances the same intelligence as any other race. Now Africa's been sleeping, not dead, only sleeping. Today Africa is walking around not only on her feet, but on her brains. You can enslave, as was done for 300 years, the bodies of men. You can shackle the hands of men. You can shackle the feet of men. You can imprison the bodies of men, but you cannot shackle or imprison the minds of men. Dive down, black men, and dig. Reach up, black men and women, and pull all nature's knowledge to you. Turn ye around and make a conquest of everything, north and south, east and west. And then when you have wrought well, you will have merited God's blessing. You will have become God's chosen people, and naturally you will become leaders of the world. And as you bow down to the white man today, so a lot of races bow down to you and call you a race of masters because of the superiority of your mind and your achievements. Because no race has the last word on culture and on civilization. They do not know what we are capable of. They do not know what we are thinking. They're thinking in terms of dreadnoughts, battleships, aeroplanes, submarines. You know what we're thinking about? That is our own private business.
It was a very charismatic and also a comedian at the same time, but serious words that he's speaking at the same time, you know?
Serious words back with serious action.
Serious actions. So, ladies and gentlemen, it has been watered. And Brother Malek, thank you so much for your input tonight. And we have built a connection. Definitely, I look forward to meeting you. Just one in London, innit?
Yeah.
All right. So, God bless
you. And thank you for the listeners for taking time out to listen.
Yes. Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, I'll just be joining over on TikTok for a while. Thank you very much, Brother Malek. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for everyone for joining, and peace out and thank you. Cheers. Respect.